Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Pull Up Trey podcast, the podcast wherein I, Samson Folk, co host alongside, of course, the Trey that pulls up. My neighbors, I'm yelling, but I gave them my old mattress the other day for free.
Okay.
Buy it off you. I was like, take it, man. It's all yours. Mostly because he was sitting in the garage. You say garage or garage?
Do people say garage?
I think that's American. Garage.
What's
Garage.
sick twisted people would say something like that?
I think
Garage.
Americans, we should ask Kai about
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Garage.
Grudge. Okay, I shouldn't be doing a Kai impersonation on here. Anyway, we're doing Trey, how you doing? You're the Trey that pulls up. This is the Pull Up Trey podcast. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, everybody. Maybe that's the earliest we've done it, but
Yeah.
it really helps out the channel, helps out the show. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Every day that the Blue Jays are leading in the AL East is a good day for me. I'll tell
They
you. I'll
told
tell
us
you
they
that.
couldn't do it. The point differential.
They're not winning by enough. It's all gonna come back. Man,
They're a fun team, man.
nonsense. Yeah, it's good. Sometimes Moneyball works.
Dude,
Singles, you get on base. That's all that matters.
once we started seeing the Twitter threads about they make the pitchers like they face more pitches per at bat than anybody else. They don't strike out. I was like, oh man, it's not my favorite type of baseball,
Fact.
but watching winning is pretty fun. Uh, I guess to start things off, this is a mailbag episode, so we had a whole bunch of questions. We won't be able to get to all of them, but we'll try and get to a decent amount. And it's the dog days, so we are just kind of turning to the listener base and saying, what do you want to hear us talk about? Of course, we have other things planned for the future, but this is where we're at. Alex Golden, who I had the pleasure of meeting when I went down to cover the finals in Indiana, asks, how intriguing would it be to have one of Kevin Pritchard or Chad Buchanan run the Raptors, since there are so many rumors around them being potential GM candidates? Also, what types of moves would you like to see the next Raptors GM make to balance out this roster? That goes into another one from Mac that says, what's one realistic move you would make to this roster before the start of the season? So I'll start off with, since, if Kevin Pritchard gets hired by the Raptors, I think finally I'd have to give him the follow back on Twitter. Of course, he hasn't gotten it yet. He hasn't gotten it yet from me. I met Chad when I was down there as well. I got to talk to everybody and all that kind of stuff. He was nice in the short little time. But I tell you one thing that Indiana has done exceptionally well, and I don't really know whether to pin this on Chad or on Kevin, but they have traded like nobody's business. We've talked about this as like an
Yeah.
alternate path to building teams. We've discussed this in the past, but as far as that's like a great thing, being able to work in the trades. However, the Pacers have had this really funky thing outside of Andrew Nemhard, and it may creep up with Benedict Mathurin. Their rookie scale contract guys they draft, do not re-sign and are oftentimes traded or just leave after year 4. It's a really interesting wrinkle of their team building that they've hardly drafted anyone who's in the thick of it. You know what I mean? They've just had unbelievable trade identification. Now, if we're pairing these things together, take whoever, Kevin, Chad. I mean, Chad and Kevin have kind of the same relationship in the front office, similar at least to what Bobby and Masai used to have. So, from Bobby's perspective, I don't know. And Bobby's also friends with Chad. So, I mean, who's to say? But having Kevin step in, maybe, or having Chad step in, maybe.
Yep.
But if the Raptors really do believe in the Bobby Webster, Dan Tolzman slew of scouts draft process, and they love that, and they get, let's say, the decision maker at the top to pull the trigger on trades, maybe that fits really well. Maybe that's fun. However, there are decision makers at the top, but identifying the correct trade and identifying the correct player, there's like giant teams of people who do scouting, like pro scouting. We have friends who
Mhm.
do pro scouting in the NBA and prospect scouting. It's just teams take a lot of opinions into consideration. So one person at the top, it's important, and I think both Chad and Kevin are great. But my suspicion is that it's going to be Bobby. But that's kind of where I'm at. Do you have any takes on the fellows from Indiana?
Great guys, I love them.
Yeah.
I was gonna say similar. I think the Raptors organizationally, their strength throughout the Masai tenure, even still to this day, is their drafting. They're very unique in the sense where they're a big market team that has to operate like a small market one. So getting a front office guy that comes from a small market that has to win trades, can't rely on free agency, makes tons of sense. And I believe, you correct me if I'm wrong, Chad has a connection to Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having him in with Bobby would make sense, and ideally less tension if Bobby doesn't get the job. But I
Would
think
you think Bobby would be more receptive to his buddy getting hired in his spot rather than like some older savvy gentleman?
if I only spoke if it was me, anyone gets the job, I'm out of here.
Is Andrew Scholes gonna be in the Raptors front office, man?
After being there for so many years, being a part of a championship team, and apparently from what I've seen, Brandon Ingram trade wasn't on him. He picked CMB and he didn't trade away Pascal Siakam. So there's no blood on his hands. So I think I'd much rather him get the go for the remainder of his contract and keep this energy that they have organizationally and see what he can do rather than this half step of having the decision maker but keeping the org the same, because those guys were also part of the decision making in all the bad things that happened over the last few years. So
Well,
I
and
think
yeah, you're definitely like you had big reactions to some of the missteps from the Raptors. Like immediately you're like falling to your knees. No. And also from Indiana's perspective, obviously next year is a lost season in the way of they're not going to contend. It won't be a lost season. They'll learn things next season. They'll compete, but they're not going to vie for a championship. However, they've been adaptable in getting Tyrese and building around him. Like Pascal, it turned out was the perfect guy to get.
yep.
The price they paid, the impact they've gone from, that was like the perfect trade. Aaron Nesmith trade ended up being unbelievably sublime to rebuild and retool around Tyrese Halliburton, who will be like a top 5 point guard for years and years, even still coming back from injury. You want probably to sustain the front office. So I think it'd probably be tough to pull those guys away from Indiana. But to the other part of the question is like a sensible move, which Alex asks about, and also what Mac asks about. I asked you to go look this up to put your
Yeah.
mind to work. What did you come up with a rebalancing trade? Because everyone looks at the Raptors and is like, this, the construction's kind of funky. What
Yeah.
are you trying to create?
I think there's two trades that I think that make the most sense. I think the first one's the obvious one, a guy that we really like. It's all these trades revolve around RJ Barrett. He's the guy whose role will be significantly impacted by the Brandon Ingram trade. Is RJ Barrett to the Kings for Malik Monk and additional salary. Salary that's included is a guy's name I don't want to say, but that helps us get the trade done.
Wait, who
Um,
is it?
TD.
Oh,
It would have to
whoa.
it
Wow.
would have to
Is
be
he
TD.
he's the only money that works?
Yeah.
Wow. That's funny. That's
But
funny.
uh, hilarious. Well, we can release him after. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think from watching Summer League, and I don't want to overreact, but what they've put in place at nearly every single position is competition. And right now at the backup point guard spot, there is no competition. That's going to be Jamal Shead's role. He's going to play 20 minutes. And I'm unsure currently if you're trying to win games, if he's the right guy in that spot. And I think that's totally fair entering his second year. I think Malik Monk would, for games that IQ isn't playing or minutes he isn't playing, he can swap and fill it within that role of what they're going to ask him in bunches and score a ton. And then also coming off the bench, and there's a role he already does, he can provide the Raptors that extra punch, extra boost, and additional shot creation and playmaking across the board. And it gives you that skill set from between IQ and Malik for 48 minutes. And like underratedly, he gets downhill a lot more than people would suspect.
Very underratedly.
Very. But So you aren't losing that skill from RJ Barrett as much as you think you are. So I think it's the perfect role in balancing out the roster and also reducing their salary hit as well. You probably have to throw in additional picks. I would throw in a few seconds to get that done, but it allows them to have a young guy that still fits Scotty's timeline and also balance out the roster and add additional shooting.
After pining for Malik Monk for so long, you know, as a biennial exception guy, as a minimum guy, as a
Yeah,
mid-level exception guy, as whatever, this, that, and the other, our friend group has just been like, Malik Monk is awesome. The Raptors
yeah,
should try and get him. Him finally coming back would be pretty crazy. I do think that he's obviously he's a more dynamic shooter than RJ, but his shot
yeah,
did not settle at the place where I thought it might. He shoots the
yeah.
ball worse than I thought he would at this age. He is a better driver, I think, than RJ. Not by a ton, but I think he is a better driver. And I think he has a higher ceiling defensively, even though I think RJ has performed better on defense over the past couple of years. He makes, I guess, like $10 million less, and then for another
Yeah,
year or something. So I don't know if the Kings would do that. They've surprisingly been like, we're out on Malik Monk. I
yeah.
don't know what the hell the
It was
Kings are
just weird.
doing, man. I have no idea what's going on over there. That is just it's a window into how difficult it can be to have like the clarity up top to run a franchise the proper way, because I have no idea what the hell is going on in Sacramento. They pivot like six times, and now the team is you can't recognize it. It's nonsense. Anyway, Malik Monk, I'd be happy to cheer for him. He adds more guard skills, let's say, to the
Yeah,
roster, and it would obviously impact uh, how a wide number of players play on the roster. I think it would
yeah.
be really interesting. Although I'll be honest, I kind of want to see chalk. Like I know everybody, and this is
That's
just
fair.
me wanting to see stuff, but and everybody and their mom has the trade that they want before the season starts. I kind of want to see them go in with this rotation, and I want to see how it works. I'd like
I
to
think that's
see
what
that.
happens.
I think so too, because it's hard to make a trade happen. But
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a coward. I kind of want to just, well, you got these guys here. They play together all summer. They get a training camp together. Let's see it. That's kind of where I'm at. And also, as an RJ optimist, I would like to see him play in a talented starting lineup and see where his skill set falls and how he finds his way to points and creation. And that's the RJ optimist in me. But there's obviously a whole bunch of people who are not RJ optimists. Can I also say had
Mhm.
a big Jamal Shead feature that came out. So the comments under that piece, because I always go look at the comments,
Of course.
there was Jamal Shead, the expectation, at least from the comments, and we see this a lot, is that he will not only like equal Fred VanVleet, but surpass him. Expectations, not like hopefulness, but like, oh yeah, he'll get there. That is an all-star guard.
Yeah.
That is a guy who's made what, like $250 million in his career.
All-time
That
Raptor, to be
that
honest.
is that is a guy who was injured, and God, did he get a lot of shit thrown his way, man. Like, I understand that. I think it's oh, here I am again. And again, like when Fred was here, Lewis was probably the most common guest on the podcast. And Lewis would always be very like, Fred is so good at all this, and I'd be kind of a Fred, like, he's not that good, but he's still a good player. And
Yeah.
now in the retrospect, I'm always like, who do you guys think Fred VanVleet was? Like he was really unhealthy. He had a bad year defensively, one, and then he went right back to being elite defensively. Of course, the shooting isn't where you want to be, but like he doesn't grow on trees, man.
Yeah.
Jamal Shed to get to Fred's level defensively would have to be orders of magnitude, like just so much better. I
I think like look at the league. How many guards at Fred's size has his skill set? I can't name one. Like maybe like Keon Ellis can't dribble. He can't run the point. Like he has off guard skills while also being able to operate as a point guard, even while limited at his size. And he's like one of the first 10 Raptors you list on like an all time team. So
Yeah.
that's
If
such a
Jamal
high point.
Shead is as good as Fred VanVleet, dude, I'm so gassed.
Yeah.
And also, like Fred, he wasn't good in his rookie season. It was just kind of like a flash in the pan, like boop, in and out. But by year two, he was excellent,
Mhm.
truly excellent. So, if Jamal Shead has a truly excellent year, I'm so gassed. We get to watch just like such a strong point guard. But that's like the point of the piece I wrote was, Jamal is expecting, like, I want this year to be, well, he never talks about him like what I want to do. He always talks about team first. He wants the team to win. He wants to be a big part of it. I don't know how that's going to look for him, but he's getting minutes for sure. It's interesting. It's
Mhm.
interesting. The fervor around Jamal, he says all the right things.
He's very
He's
nice.
so likable. Like, how many guys are like, I'm gonna get a Canadian passport. It just doesn't happen that often this way. It definitely, which was the next one we want to ask?
Oh, I was gonna give you another trade. This one's more
Okay.
risky.
Give me another trade.
Chicago this time. Um, Patrick Williams, Ao Desumu,
Enough of the Patrick
A
Williams.
Ao Desumu, and a first round swap in next year's draft for RJ Barrett.
Oh, you were
I was
workshopping
prepping.
this. This
I
is
was
you were
prepping.
workshopping. Okay.
When do I ever just ask everybody about trades?
I didn't scroll up. I literally just
Okay.
saw a reference to Chicago first round pick, and I assumed it was key, just doing like trade stuff. But okay, you were doing work. Hmm. That could be a pretty good first round pick.
That's what I'm saying. It gives you the added upside of if the season doesn't go well, Chicago also doesn't make the playoffs. You're now giving yourself two chances to win the lottery. You are eating Patrick Williams' contract, which is 4 more years. But he has a skill set that fits the Raptors. He's a 39% three-point shooter in his career. He he's shown that he's been able to defend in the NBA over his career. Last year wasn't very good, but I think similar to Ochai, he could fill in within a role where isn't asked to do anything else but defend, hit threes, and be an active cutter and be fine in that spot. And then you also add a backup point guard with that adds competition to Jamal Shed, and you've given yourself a hedge with the swap if anything goes bad.
Yeah, I think I'm saying no.
Ooh,
I'm a no on that one, and like I would be. Let's say they pitch this at the trade deadline or something,
yeah,
and they love RJ for some reason, right? They love RJ, and they're like, we're gonna sign him to an extension after we trade for him, something like that.
yeah.
Maybe then, because I then you get to assess your season on one end, and you get to see what like 60% of theirs equaled for their lottery odds. But before the outset of the season, taking on Pat Will, oh brother, I I don't know. I think that would be
Yeah, it's
kind
a
of
risk.
hairy. Yeah, I like the other one better. It's a better trade, I think, for the Raptors.
Mm.
But I mean, are you happy about that? Would you do it, or were you just kind of like kicking it around?
This is a kicker out. But I do like the hedge with the first round swap because it if things don't go well, you have the extra opportunity. And even if you it I think that one of the issues with the Raptors and I guess like people outside is like the ceiling of this team. Even if things go really well, it's probably a first round out, maybe a second round. You also have the opportunity to potentially add more young talent to this team if things don't go right for Chicago. So there's that added thought process because I do think they can't just let RJ's contract for the next 2 seasons. They do need to replace it with a player and ideally maybe additional more depth. And I find it hard to find that one for one trade for him outside of like the Malik Monk one I mentioned.
Yeah, it speaks to how hard it is to make trades work because RJ has I think, an easy contract to trade, which is why he's involved in like when
Yeah,
Blake and I talked about this. The reason why RJ gets thrown in so much stuff is because he has like a well-sized contract that helps facilitate a wide array of trades, and it's still hard to make that trade. Um, More team-wide stuff and really projection stuff. Trevor Norlander asks, "Will the Raptors have a better offense or defense this year? And what do you think it will take to get either of those in the top 10?" I don't think they have a chance at top 10 offense.
no,
Like, not a lick. And if they did, I gotta shake Darko's hand, man. Like, I gotta be like, "What the hell were you cooking up in there?" That would be incredible. But, I'll start by saying that I think the defensive rating will be higher than the offensive rating, and then how do you feel?
Agreed. I think their defense has a chance to probably be within the top 12. Like their front court defensively, especially the bigs, should be among the best in the NBA. And I think the beauty about their back end of their defense is you're swapping you there's a good chance you're swapping out your starters for two other very strong defenders. CMB from everything we've seen in in summer league looks like the defense is really going to translate. And then Jonathan Mobo is already one of the best defensive players on the team. So I think even like with their perimeter deficiencies, especially within their starting lineup, they have guys that are going to be able to like wreak havoc in the back end and still deter people from the rim. So I think their defense is going to be good.
I think their defense is gonna be strong as well. We talked about this on the RR and Hello and Welcome
Yeah.
roundtable at Vegas, but last the only pushback against the defense is one that the run towards the end of the season was fool's gold, which it could be to differing degrees. It could be fully fool's gold. It could be somewhat true, and it could be marginally true or something like that. But as far as who's coming in now, they did have guys like on the one hand, during their hardest stretch of the season, Davion Mitchell was taking a ton of possessions as a defender. That helped them just in the numbers, right? And then once he's gone, they're playing better as a group. The fall off wasn't as much as people thought it might be defensively. Credit to the Raptors. And they're playing Gradey was out since March, which helped the defense, I think, to some
Mhm.
degree. It's just guys came back healthy. Then they sat everyone and they're just busting their ass in games where sometimes the other team wasn't. But Brandon Ingram probably doesn't elevate the defense. He's entering the starting lineup and he's entering instead of, I guess, Ochai or
Yeah.
Jacoby or Grady. Now, depending on who you select, I think he could be roughly as good as Ochai was defensively, quite frankly. And
Oh.
I know,
Oh.
I this everyone I am diametrically opposed on Ochai's defense to what a lot of people think. Diametrically opposed. He plays an important role defensively for the Raptors. That point of attack stuff, I like that he has the gumption to get out there and give it a go. BI isn't going to be the same level of like utility there, but his
Mhm.
size on the court, I think, will be
Yeah.
of far more utility than what Ochai in rotation, if I had to guess. I Their defense should be good, man.
Mhm.
They've got a lot of positive defenders. IQ has dis he's really disappointed defensively.
Yeah.
As we've talked about, there's so many things that limit him as a point guard, but he's just a great shot maker. So the road to him being a good player offensively is just so easy. Just walk that road. And defensively, if he is a guy who plays like elite ball pressure defense, or maybe not even elite, is just like a present ball pressure defender and is aggressive off ball, he can grade out as a positive defender. He hasn't been close to that as a Raptor, but he still has the root there. Positive on defense, positive on offense. It just the road to them being a good defense, I think, is pretty straightforward. The road to them being a good offense requires a lot more ingenuity. Whereas, like, the culture, the style, everything they want to do defensively has already been planted there and needs to be built upon from 14th ranked last year to top 12, top 10 this year. It's possible. I don't know if it's a strong likelihood, can happen. And then offensively, they have to juggle and perfect the sequencing of a lot of like not exactly perfect fitting offensive talents. And
Mhm.
if they hit it, then they're playing a really fun, zippy brand of basketball. And a lot of guys are shooting the ball much better than they did in years past. All that stuff can happen. I would choose the defense is more likely.
I think offensively, they should be a very good like transition team, but I even with Brandon on the team, like in the half court, they're going to struggle. They don't have a lot of shooting outside of I guess IQ if you look at the starters. And in terms of like dribble penetration, there isn't one particular like BI can do it, but that he also hasn't shown in his
He
career that he
flattens out is the
yeah,
thing, yeah.
he's not committed to doing so. And the Raptors outside of him were literally the worst at doing so. So I think in the half court they're really gonna struggle, and that's going to be the reason why. Like the goal for them should probably be like the 17th to 18th best offensive team in the league.
I was gonna say, man, if they're 16th, I'm hooting and
Yeah.
hollering because I don't even think they'll be a super strong transition team as far
Mm,
as like points per possession, but I think they will be in frequency, which is
yeah,
important
turnovers. Yeah.
because just getting out and running and honestly, like having a litany of players who, after they get the rebound, like to push, all that stuff is important. RJ is important to that even, it's
Yeah.
it's important to have those types of guys and to get that type of offense because bad transition offense is still better than good half court offense. So their overall offensive rating, I think, can be in an okay spot. Their half court offensive rating, I think there would have to be a huge step from Scotty, real
Yeah.
clarity of role for IQ and RJ, and some sheer wizardry on ball from Mr. Brandon Ingram. Not to mention guys like Gradey and Jacoby really getting in and stepping into the roles and feeling awesome in them. It's tough to see that, but they'll be able to play, but they'll lead with defense first.
Yeah.
That's my feeling, I guess.
Yeah. Agreed.
From Camouflage, Coconut Tree Faller Outer of The Raptors have some roster crunch in terms of both total rotation level players and players in the same position or role. Are there any unconventional lineups or roles that you guys think could mitigate this and help make the most of the talent? Now, I think this is mostly up to the two guards, quite frankly,
Yep.
because, it's up to RJ to be a guy who, in transitional lineups, can take that burden of creation, do it against bench players, and really allow lesser offensive players to thrive so that guys like Mobo can spend more time on the floor. And guys like Jacoby and Gradey, especially Gradey, who is like a more dynamic offensive player, the ability to bend a defense and create for others. That's what the Raptors are really looking at is having guys who can open up seams for guys like Mobo, for guys like CMB, for guys like Yaka Pirtle to finish at the rim, to get downhill, to create the collapse afterwards so that they can push the ball out to shooters. That so that Jamison Battle can come in and play in some lineups, right? So like there could be a funky lineup where it's like CMB, Jamison Battle, JMO, uh, Jacoby Walter, at Jamal Shead or something like that, right? Like these types of
Yep.
lineups, it depends on if anybody can handle a creation load because the Raptors have built a team with more limited offensive players who can defend rather than the inverse. And so that means that they need somebody to carry. And obviously you can if that archetype goes from Luca to Trey
Yeah.
Young to whatever the Raptors will getting. That's why Malik Monk is such an interesting piece on the team because
Mm.
he'd probably be able to do that
Yeah.
really well, but they'll be getting it piecemeal. And how big the piece is of the meal from guys like Grady, guys like RJ, Jacoby creating would shock the hell out of me, probably.
It
Yeah,
wasn't there. I
at
mean,
least this year. I mean, you'd
yeah.
never want to say no to it in the future, but yeah, Jamal Shed also, I guess you should there's room for him to, especially if the pull up three comes along. It wasn't there in summer league, but Ochai made me realize like what the hell is that tournament anyway?
Yeah.
But I think it's up to those guys to convert that kind of stuff. Or Scotty Barnes, superstar, is
Yeah.
also in the mix. Like they just need a guy who the Kyle Lowry effect. Lucas Nogueira is the most impressive and compelling player on the floor. Why? Because he can run in a straight line and catch the ball, and Kyle Lowry knows exactly how to make that type of play
Yeah.
happen, right? There's so many players who benefited from playing next to Kyle. And this is also like a very low key thing about the NBA is that role players are so context dependent and
Mhm.
like stars are becoming more context dependent because the level of play is reaching a certain height, but role players are so context dependent and it's like how easy is your job? And the Raptors just nobody's job was easy
Yeah.
last year. Ochai's maybe. because he really was very like, I'm taking these shots.
Mhm.
Transition layups, back cut layups, corner threes, and then started to creep above the break. But they need guys who break down the defense and make things easy. Then you can start playing plus defenders. Then you can have a top 8 defense. Then you can do all that kind of stuff, but it requires heavy lifting from their big names and then a little bit more from a guy like Gradey, I think, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think a real big key, especially in like their lineups, is how they operate like transitionally after the starters are broken up. And I think that's going to be staggering Brandon Ingram and RJ. Um, it allows RJ to be in lineups, whether he's coming off the bench or whether he's with the starters, and be that dribble creative for others around him so that they can play better defensive lineups and allow a guy like Jacoby to have a very simple job if he's with the bench and just be a catch and shoot guy. It allows Gradey also to play with the starters in some other sense because they can put better defensive talent around them. And it makes the roles, I think, around the team and the defensive lineups that they can play significantly easier because right now the defense that they want to play or for what we've seen in summer league they can't necessarily achieve that with Brandon Ingram. But if that's Ochai in that spot or that's Jacoby in that spot 5 minutes into the first quarter, everything becomes a lot easier. And if a guy like Jacoby and Ochai are consistent shooters throughout their next season, um, it makes most of their lineups a lot more tenable because IQ can be one of the best shooters in the world if he's able to put up the actual attempts to get to where he needs to be, and those other guys can make up defensively for his lack of ability to defend at the point of attack. So I think that will be a major key of like synergy and fixing some of the deficiencies they have throughout the starters.
Yeah, that was what Abdel and I were talking about with the CM when we were doing like what are the interesting duos. It was like CMB and Grady is really interesting because Grady might have the dynamism to make CMB's keeper plays and dribble handoff
Mhm.
stuff like more compelling on offense. And CMB is also the type of really proactive rotational defender who can protect Grady if there's a blow by or if he's getting like burnt out. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff always matters really. P. Zeems asks, would you be a believer in the 4 bench players plus 1 starter lineups with this team, considering the improved depth? The depth has improved, but like it has improved, it will have to improve, but by what amount?
Yeah.
Like that was Jamal. What he said is like the last quote I used in the piece was, we're not rookies anymore. We want to be a piece of this. We want to help supplement and support those guys.
Mhm.
But the the Raptors' depth is better than it was, but I still don't see a reason to say it's like good. And
Yeah.
I'd be very happy, and people can tell me if it's like 30 games in the season and they're excellent depth, come back and be like, you were too low on the depth and say it to me because I will have been. But I don't see an argument right now to assume that the depth is really strong. I look at a 4 bench, 1 starter lineup as this team is currently constructed, and I say, how good is the starter to help transform that lineup? And
Yeah.
I don't, I, I don't see it being super successful as
Yeah.
currently constructed.
Agree. Especially because the depth on the team is super dependent on having that like star creator. Guys like Jacoby, guys like Ochai, super stationary players. The only
This
other
team was 30th in on ball points per possession. This team.
exactly. So you're going to need multiple guys. Like I think the bench lineup, how I view it is that a lot of those bench lineups is probably 3 bench guys with like Jakob Pertl and RJ Barrett, where you can run that pick and roll, which was super successful last season, and allow everyone else to be stationary players, and it makes things a lot easier. And when Jakob is on the court, they probably will experiment with like how Scotty and CMB looks, how Scotty and Mobile looks defensively, and if he is the star that they think he is, can he carry that off offensively? But the current, well, I do think summer league was obviously fun. If the Raptors are trying to win games, I'm unsure they have good depth for that currently. We think Jamison Battle, obviously very fun player, but is he going to be in your rotation when you want it? If you're crying, if you're trying to get to a top 5, top 6 position, Probably not. So I think clear guys like in their rotation is Jacoby, Grady, CMB, but like most of those other guys like within that like rookie mob last season, I don't think is a sure bet of being an NBA rotation player.
Oh, this actually wasn't asked under the tweet, but since you didn't put Mobo in that conversation, and since we actually forgot to discuss Mobo when we were talking
Mhm.
about the future, where will you be in 5 years?
Yeah.
I think a listener asked about Filipowski versus Mobo because they're one after the other, right? And Filipowski just won Summer League MVP. He had his offensive numbers are very strong for a rookie, whether he's drafted like 14th as a big or 32nd, right? And using it as like a to discuss Mobo, just as a quick aside, and again to reiterate this, Jamison Battle could play on the Oklahoma City Thunder in the regular season, and he could be part of that rotation
Yeah.
offensively because they make it so simple for his style of play. Derrick Jones Jr. likes to play off of heliocentric players because it's really friendly for his style of play.
Mm.
The Raptors players, nobody has been done a favor on offense in a couple years.
Yeah.
It's like last year, nobody's job was easy. So and some of this is like the guys you paid, go be good and
Yeah.
make things easier for the younger guys. And the younger guys, like, you have to win. The Nets, why were they so much better at the start of last year than the Raptors? Because Jordy Fernandez, who we both really like, was
Mhm.
lapping Darko as a coach? No, not necessarily. Lucas Kaplan told me this when we did our first preview of the season. When I was like, "Are the Nets gonna be one of the worst teams in the league?" He said, "No, they have too many NBA players on the team." The Raptors' depth, not everyone has proven that they're going to stay in the NBA. Just keeping NBA players on your team, even if they're unpopular names, helps you win games. And the Raptors have to prove it in the depth perspective, and their stars have to be
Yeah.
stars, man. Go be a star. Make it
Yeah.
easy.
You also saw that like in their little run, I think it was I want to say late November, early December, give or take, when they just started playing Kelly Olynyk, Bruce Brown, Davion Mitchell. They
Yep.
started winning games because those are NBA players. They know how to play, and you aren't just getting those green mistakes that would happen most of the time with a guy like Jacoby, guys like Jamal. Rookies have such high variance of play that lose you minutes, and a team like Detroit, they become instantly better adding Tobias Harris, adding
Don't talk
adding
down on my Tobias now, okay? He's a quality
I'm
player.
I'm one of the best players in the league. This team would trade me for a crumble cookie. Not many six
Oh,
nine players can
man.
defend. Oh, but like they just added NBA players and they got really good because of that.
Yep. This leads into a good question from Spence Bell. With a shift towards winning over development next season, what are some of the biggest changes we should expect? Roles, usage, bench hierarchy, etc. We've kind of been kicking this around. I also ask if we're hitting the gas on winning next season, what exactly does that look like? I'll answer that really quickly. It looks like a very ardent defensive identity. It looks like an impressive season where both Scotty and BI put their names in the hat of all-star status. I don't know if they'll have the juice for two. I don't know if BI will be healthy. Like, I don't really know. But
Mhm,
the shift as far as roles, usage, bench hierarchy is that when it doesn't really matter, everyone kind of gets their shot. But
yeah,
this is kind of what I've been talking about, and, we had a bit of feedback that was like, "Don't pit the players against one another," but it's like, "No, dude, they can both be on the team, but these guys are battling for that top of a prospective role." Looking good means that on most nights, one of Grady or Jacoby is playing more minutes than the other. It
yeah.
wouldn't be toggling a lot. It means that somebody found that foothold because winning teams are consistent. They know what
Mhm,
they're expecting, and it can shift a little bit, but it also looks like if Jamison Battle hangs in on defense and the Raptors, they get what they need defensively from a guy like RJ, and Jamal Shead is doing a decent enough job creating that, Jonathan Mobile might fall out and Jamison Battle might be like a deep bench shooter who actually plays a little bit more and is important as a shooter. Like those are the types of things. Or if they're like their wing creators are just busting things open nonstop and they just need somebody to shore up the defense and the offense is going better, Jonathan Mobile could emerge far before Jamison Battle does. Those are the kinds of decisions that will be made. And last year, none of those decisions were made. Everybody
Yeah.
got their shot. Everybody had a look.
Yeah, I agree. Like a clear example is like the Jamal Shed Davion Mitchell situation. Davion was in most of their positive minutes throughout the year, but they always had a very clear plan of Jamal and wanting him to be their backup point guard of the year or backup point guard of the future, and he got those minutes. I think next year it's very similar to like the Houston Rockets of like a year or two ago, where you have this glut of this young talent, and you're seeing who's going to be a part of the solution and who's going to win out because the Raptors need to be able to make clear decisions and pivot on who they want to keep and who they want to stay on the team. Like Amen Thompson of that group clearly won out. They started him. He played tons of minutes. They traded Jalen Green. They getting to a championship team, you typically aren't keeping the entire core of your roster 1 through 9. You need to understand who are the 5 or 6 guys that are going to be a part of the situation, and then utilize the other guys to create trades and fit the holes that the other 5 or 6 guys have on the roster.
Yep. A great Houston is a really good example because Reed Shepherd got nothing.
Yeah,
They're like,
literally.
"Listen, man, uh, Cam Whitmore out of the picture." They figured it out. They
Yeah,
they found they found what they wanted. Aaron Holiday, yes, some because we don't really have Reed where we want it now. We need extra possessions elsewhere. Like Jay Tate, out of there. They
yeah.
figured it out. They found out what they wanted and what they needed. And that doesn't mean other players' careers end. It doesn't mean, it has to be standom versus standom fighting. It doesn't mean it's boo hoo. Just means like, damn, one guy's hooping, one guy not so much. That is the nature of this league. That's why they have guaranteed contracts, whether you're sitting on the bench or otherwise. You get paid, you get looked after. But these guys are competitors. They're going to go out there and bust their asses. It's a good thing. I think that's an
Dude,
exciting thing to look forward to.
we've already seen that the bench mob didn't play on the Raptors for 5 or 6 years.
Fred stole DeLon's chain, man.
They traded
DeLon
him.
was next up. He was
Yeah,
supposed to
I
be
loved
that
it.
guy.
Yeah. And he got traded. You trade Jonas Valanciunas as well to get other guys. They traded Jakob Poeltl for Kawhi Leonard. You
It's pretty good.
you you need having a lot of good players is a good thing, and ideally them being young, and it allows you to make trades and make trades a lot easier. One of the reasons why the Raptors really struggled during the Pascal and Fred like era of the team is that they didn't have supporting trades that they could make because they missed on so many guys. Malachi Flynn doesn't work out.
Nobody stepped
You
up.
Yeah, and it makes things a lot harder to make trades and add support to those other guys, and they became a very top heavy team. You want to have depth, but you also want to have guys that you can trade eventually.
Yeah, like another great example is Norm had popped into the league way better than people thought. And
Yeah,
then that he had that against Indiana, right? Like things were trending. OG, it took like 20 games, it was over. OG
yeah,
never relinquished that role to Norm Powell again. And Norm Powell damn near made the All-Star game last year. It's just like there are winners and there are losers. And if you're a
yeah,
loser, you can lose for the time and win later. But like that's what winning does. When you win, you have to make choices. And coaches find who they like. They know what they can depend on from that player. That's why. That's what it's going to be. And I'm really excited because we like Jacoby and Gradey a lot.
yeah,
It will be very interesting, and they're very different players. It will be very interesting to see both these guys bring their best, especially with that added pressure of like, we're not screwing around, man. Like, we're trying to win games. Attention to detail, like lock in. The
mhm,
things you do really matters. It can't just be ho hum. And there's been a
yeah.
lot of ho hum. There's been a lot of ho hum in this Raptors. This is we watched a lot, dude. Oh God, I'm so ready to watch winning basketball. It's been so much ho hum. I talk about every game. I write about every game. All this and like, listen, I like development and I like talking about that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. You know what's way more fun? I use this as a reference piece all the time. RJ Barrett, 85th percentile in creating points out of the pick and roll. It was really cool. He did
yeah.
develop as a playmaker, especially. He took leaps. Here's what's happening. Play by play, break it down. Here's what they're running. 600 people watch it. Are you kidding me? Nobody cared because they were losing. And
Yeah,
and not just from like that point of view, but it's like when guys win, everything's more interesting.
yeah.
Like you could say, "Ooh, this play they ran worked 6 times," and if it's during the losing season, everyone says, "Shut up, nerd." But when it's during a winning season, everyone's like, "This is interesting and cool." It just it's the nature of the
It's
beast, man.
no, it's tough. Like even beginning of the season, we're like, wow, the Raptors, they're about 2-12. They've been one of the most competitive teams in the league.
We
They've pushed so
really
many teams, just schmucks. They've they pushed this team. I remember I think that's when Grady had like 28 or 29 where they pushed Dallas. They lost by 5. We were reacting like they were gonna be a playoff team. Like
just wait till Scotty comes back. And then, yeah, IQ's elbow goes.
yeah.
Yak has a hip thing, that whole deal, man. A quick fun one from Goose. Where would Team Jamaica rank in the East?
I'm gonna create the starting lineup first, and then we'll agree.
Okay.
I'm adding Jalen Brunson to Team Jamaica. I'm just letting you know.
Okay. Okay.
Jalen Brunson, Norman Powell, and we have a Amen Thompson, Scotty Barnes, Nick Richards. I'm saying
One
they're
of these
winning.
things is not like the other. Poor Nick
I
Richards.
they're winning. They're the 1 seed in the East. I'm gonna say this right now.
Dog.
What do you mean?
The
They're not.
Cavs? Better than the Cavs?
I'm assuming a Scotty leap here. Jalen Brunson's one of the 10
Ooh,
best
does
creators.
Jalen get stolen from the Knicks, or are we cloning him in
Let's
this?
clone him. Let's clone him.
Clone? Okay. Number
They have a
1?
chance to him, Amen and Scotty both have the chance to both become all NBA players next season. I wouldn't be shocked if either or made it. Honestly.
You you're a men can make all NBA for you.
I think so.
Whoa. I don't think he's there yet for me, but I like that. That's
In a
very
Ben
impressive.
Simmons way, where he's a candidate for defensive player of the year. He's he's one of the
Yeah,
best
but Ben
players in
Simmons had
transition.
this thing where it was like dudes were just gassing him for no reason. I remember, and I was keeping tabs when everybody was like, "Who do they pick, Joel or Ben?" I was like, "This is the most unserious conversation of all time. You pick Joel. It's Joel, man." Um,
And Houston is gonna win 55 games probably.
it's not, and
Maybe
Fred
60.
Fred is not getting selected to anything. Oh, actually, yes, because Katie will get selected, and if they have to pick another player, I don't want that damn center making any list for you to shove in my face. Yeah, okay, Amen Thompson, All NBA, sure, I'll buy it.
They
I
have a
think at
chance to
some
be.
point he's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
think
there.
so. That team could be very good defensively with both him and Scotty. And he has to be. I think Scotty is going to be very good next year.
Yeah,
He showed. He kind of has to be. He
well, he
should
has to
be.
be, but also I don't see a reason why Scotty would be bad. I
Yeah.
don't. I like it's hard because I know, and you and I got in a bit of like we got pushback for like, why are you critiquing Scotty? He's just trying
Yeah.
things out. It's like, what do we talk about then,
Yeah.
man? You know what I mean? And there's good process and there's bad process. It
Yeah.
happens, but there was a lot of bad process last year. But he's just too damn good at too many things. He
Hmm.
also was all defense last year. You don't have to be selected to be around there. People who
Yeah.
watched OG Anunoby know there should be 3 all defense teams. Only being 2 is silly. His impact was there.
Yeah.
And yes, I understand his jump shot was not good, but like come on, man. This guy is an elite passer. He is can play bully ball, can finish all defense. For Scotty Barnes to have a bad year of basketball, I think like a comet has to hit him or something
Yeah.
like that. It's just too much is working for him.
Yeah.
Way too much. Okay,
So
maybe you talked me into this.
you pair a top 10 defense next to Jalen Brunson, it's possible.
I give me number 2. I'll take 2. I don't think they're better
Okay.
than the
That's
Cavaliers.
that's totally fair.
Yeah. I feel, a bit of, loyalty towards the Cavaliers. Ah, that's funny. Um, okay. 1 seed for you, 2 seed for me. That is a very compelling team. The Jalen Brunson angle helps a lot.
Mm, yeah,
Norm would be very comfortable in that. Scotty Amen. Like, Nick Richards is a big
yeah.
drop. You guys can't get a better center? You
Yeah,
can't even
we're
you
gonna
can't bend the rules, you can't twist somebody's arm?
dominate, and we need dominate to wear the green.
Oh, where is he from? He's from another
Bahamas. No, he's
Bahamas,
not from the
yes.
Bahamas.
Yeah. Hmm. That he would be meaningful. Well, it's the Greater Jamaican Islands, all of it, isn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much.
What would that team look like? Oh my days, man. A Caribbean team.
Mm. I think VJ Edgecombe starts on that team, honestly.
You put him ahead of Norm?
Yeah,
Not
I think
yet.
I would just
Surely
yeah,
not yet.
because of the skill set. You need defense.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
Brunson, VJ. I would probably still keep him in Scotty, and then you start Aiton.
damn. Okay, we're gonna use this next one as a like a teaser for there. Trey and I will research and we'll have an like 30 minutes of going to bat before the season. He's going to represent the Jacoby camp. I'm going to represent the Gradey camp. We like both players, but
Of course.
we have to pick a side, and we're going to go to battle on like who's going to be better. It'll be a fun little exercise, but this question is a good teaser for it. Which do you guys think is most likely to happen for this upcoming season? Jacoby shooting 40% from three, Gradey being a slightly below average defender, or CMB averaging more than 12 points. Now, this will allow us to discuss these players' games. I will say one of these has a much stronger likelihood than the rest, I think. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's when I was carving out the discussion on the round table, and I said like CMB could go north of 11 a game. I don't think that's the likelihood, but
Yeah.
he could. Depends how things go, but it's not the likelihood. Grady being slightly below average. God, I wish I could say it's because if you oh god, he just struggled so damn much last year. And if Grady coming into this season and putting to bed the worst defender stuff. The monumental leap that would be for the team and himself, I can hardly begin to state it. He has a lot of work there. And Jacoby to shoot 40% from 3 just needs a bit of luck and an easy roll, and
Yeah.
like it could happen. Jacoby is by far the most likely, especially on this team. He probably won't have to do that much. It's just like hit the catch and shoot threes, brother. Make it
Yeah.
happen.
Agreed. That's what Ochai Abaji did, and his 3-point numbers went up significantly because the role became so easy, and it'll become even easier this season because they have defined ball handlers on the team now, at least with Brandon Ingram, and the if his 3-point attempts aren't at bare minimum 40% of his shot diets, and majority of them being wide open threes, like something really bad happened. His He has one of the easiest roles on the team. So like him shooting 40% from three is the most likely. Uh, I think if we would say a second, I would say CMB averaging more than 12. I think there's a world where that happens, and he because he's just so good defensively, he steals minutes from a guy like RJ, steals minutes from a guy like Grady, and in some of the more important lineups with Scotty Jakob or Scotty and BI, just because the defense is so good, and he wins as a finisher, wins in transition, does all the dirty stuff, and gets the 13 or 14.
I actually think the perception of number 2 and 3 there, CMB scoring and Grady being a slightly below average defender. Those two kind of operate in maybe the same world. Is if Grady, and again, this is the duos aspect of it. If Grady, he should improve defensively from last year.
Yeah.
He should improve. He willingly defends. Like his miles traveled on defense were insane. Go watch S's video, by the way, for listeners. S has a video on Gradey's conditioning. His miles traveled on offense are nuts. His miles traveled on defense are nuts. They threw him at the point of attack. They asked Gradey to press, and he willingly went after it. He took difficult matchups. He tried to take charges. He threw his body at it. He clearly wants to defend. He's not a lazy guy. He just was not having a good time. He should improve. But as Darko has said, he thinks that the most underrated skill set of Gradey's is the passing. Gradey has always had passing upside. He hasn't looked to the pass very often because he's been so hyper. Because again, the Raptors are last in on-ball creation. So when Gradey catches the ball in motion, they say like, "Please shoot it. This is what our offense is trying to create. You running and shooting, so shoot it." So he's not looking to pass. He passing, CMB cutting, that kind of stuff, it could fit together. CMB being on the court, like, how the hell did Emmanuel Quickly get a reputation as an elite point guard defender sheerly through being like a clever off-ball guy? One, New York media. Two, insulated by good defenders.
Yeah.
Boom, there you go. And also being protected. If the Raptors try at all to protect Gradey, and they didn't care. And this is another thing about like what will change. The Raptors didn't care about protecting Gradey. They're like, "You're gonna go
Yeah.
guard De'Aaron Fox, loser. Get up there." So, like they did that. They didn't pre-switch him. They don't switch him out of anything. They say, "Go a 70-foot press right now. Get after it." Like CMB will help him, Mobo will help him, Scotty will help him. Like these types of coverages they can run to like hedge and recover would do miles of work for Gradey. And when you exist in a better scheme, people focus less. But people will always pull up like, what's his defensive Darko rating? Not the coach, but the metric. What's his EPM, bro? EPM, EPM. So like they could exist in the same world, roughly. Although
Yeah.
that would be this podcast is I'm gonna start drinking, man. We're toasting to what the hell is the drink? Toasting to something. He does something to
I don't even.
because he drinks to his accomplishments. It's
Oh,
I don't
no.
Oh
Oh,
god. Floating in and out of consciousness, right? This is
yes.
what
There
the
you go.
song headlines, yes. This played when we were at a tournament in grade 11. Oh my god. And there was a school, it's called Middle Lake, and it was a small town school, but it was right beside an indigenous reserve. And every night, dude, like the indigenous dudes will come in and hoop like all night long in the school gym. And so we were staying the night at the school, and we just went and played, and they were just headlines on repeat, dude. It played, it must have been like
Special.
26 times in a row. It's just dun, 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 like the whole night. And we're just playing basketball in our pajama pants. It was sick, man. I wonder if the kids listen to a lot of Drake in Saskatchewan when they play basketball now.
I think you'd have to.
Yeah, he's a big name.
It's kind of a big deal.
And what song played the most for you when you played basketball? What do you remember as like a song that during warm-ups or whatever?
The warm up song for us in high school was "Stay Scheming" by Rick Ross, Drake, and
Holy
French Montana.
moly.
French Montana's verse, horrific. We would always cut it off right before because he goes, Dwight Howard in the post, dog. Terrible post up game. Hakeem, can we talk about how Hakeem Olajuwon has been stealing money from NBA players for nearly
Listen,
a
man, you
decade?
take the charge on this one, all right?
Since Kobe, Hakeem Olajuwon, for anyone who doesn't know, does like a week, a little workshop of post moves, and he teaches you how to do the dream shake, how to do a drop step, up and unders, all the moves that got him into the Hall of Fame. He's taught LeBron, he's taught Kobe Bryant, he's taught Dwight
Giannis.
Howard, he's taught Giannis Antetokounmpo. If you guys are thinking, I haven't seen any of these moves, you are 100% right because none of these players end up doing the dream shake. And he takes money from them for this week of training. Dwight Howard's post up game never improved. He still sucked at it. Giannis is trying to teach kids moves. I see him teaching class.
Ace
He
Bailey.
never he never does any of these moves. I don't get it.
Giannis's greatest skill in the post up is to slam his shoulder into somebody and then dunk over them, and he is better at that than almost any player has ever been at it. Is he the best at that ever?
He would maybe Shaq, obviously Shaq, yeah.
Yeah, Shaq from a post up. Giannis
Yeah.
overall, I think, is better at it because Giannis did it
Mm,
like Giannis
he does
live
it everywhere,
dribble.
yeah. Yeah,
Bro, that's
that's fair.
you. Like, you don't finish it with a dunk, but you literally do the Giannis step every goddamn time we play basketball. And when peak Trevon is
Yeah.
rumbling down the lane, "Ah," you're just like, damn, there's a lot of length to contend with, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Giannis definitely the best at it, but Shaq, God, that the
Just
dunk and then the
just
point and then the Collins, I think his last name was, and then you just see his face, fuck you. Because that's oh, incredible. We got one more question for a
um,
fun one, which is somebody asked us about food. Let me see. Oh yeah. Frederick asks, "What's your go-to snack slash meal when you're out and about? Example from cafe, fave, local spot, etc. Can't go wrong with a Bathurst Station beef patty." I've never had a Bathurst Station beef patty. Have you? Is this not good?
no, man. No, man.
Okay, well,
Putrid.
put us on game. Put us on game.
Un unless you're going to like, obviously, Little Jamaica's far for a lot of people. That's on the west side of the city, but Randy's Patties now is in the Eaton Center. Warden Station, classic.
Warden Station is gone, man.
What? Oh, wow,
They
I'm out
closed
of
them
touch.
down.
Oh, shit.
They closed them down. I had a tweet about this
Oh,
because when I was still going to Boulder Park with Josh
yeah.
and they closed down the restaurants, I was like, "What's going on?" And they're gone. They're
That's
out.
crazy.
Yeah.
I when I was going to, like, school, I would hop off the train to go get something to eat and be like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna be late today," and just
Yes.
grab a patty and then go back on the train. That's
Warden
crazy.
Station, the first time I was there, I was like, "This is the peak of civilization." Because
Yes.
one, where I grew up, there was like hardly anything. It's just
Yeah.
fields. You know what I mean? I grew
Mhm.
up in a town of 700 people for anyone who doesn't know. And then two, there's not like transit in Saskatchewan, not really. And I lived in
Mm.
Mexico where there's like not much transit either. It's just I didn't have a lot of transit in my life. So when I moved to Toronto, and I love transit, obviously my political leanings, they fit very well with public transit, you know what I mean? And so when there's transit here and like Toronto or Montreal are the only two places where there's like transit or robust transit relative to Canada, I was like, "Oh my god." And then there's the Warren Station with all the stuff going on. I'm like, "This is the Mecca. This is the best thing I ever seen." But it was like 3 months later they took it all out.
Oh, man. I'm out of touch.
You
That's
are out of
crazy.
touch. Sit with that emotion.
Damn. Damn.
Dude, in just a couple months, I'm joining the unction with y'all. It's kinda crazy.
That's
30.
fine.
But here I've said this before, and for anybody listening, if you're balding, 1, listen, man, you can just come home. But 2, if you're balding early, I feel like you go through the aging process or, like, the insecurity of aging quicker. Like, when I was 25 and my hairline was going, I was like, "I feel really old because my hair is gone, dude." You know what I mean? I didn't have to hit 30 to be like, "Oh, no, what's happening?" It happened to me at 25, and
Mm.
when you're bald, everyone makes fun of you for it. It just is what it is. You're like, you got it hits you in the face. You got used to it. So I don't think turning 30 is gonna bother me. You know what I mean? Do you have any wisdom words for me?
Stretch. You need to have
Oh,
a good stretch routine.
you're not new, dude.
You
Every
need to you need to have a good I we went to the gym in Vegas. Josh was walking you through the little stretch routine. You look like you were above it. You were that's 29 thought process. You need to get your nice little stretch in, open up your hips, make sure you're
dude,
fine in the morning.
my hips, oh, they fly open, brother. My hips fly open. I know, like, so you know the type of climbing where I'm like up against the like it's not so much overhung, it's called slab climbing. Dude,
Yes.
my hip mobility, dude, these things they open like handicap doors, dog. Straight as big as possible. My flexibility, one, has improved because
That's
of
fire.
climbing, but two, it was only once I started climbing, I realized I was like, "Damn, I can bend these things going any which way." And this so I like my hip motion, elite.
Mm.
I got tons of range of motion in the, the anyway. Wait, what are you eating though? Did you say
Oh,
oh, I guess Randy's patties?
I do love a patty.
There is a place out in Scarborough called either Desi Time or Desi Taste. I've had it twice. Unbelievable biryani.
Mm.
Unbelievable biryani. So good. And, there's, like, a ton of places you could choose that are, like, good in Toronto.
Yeah.
I went to Maha's. That was yeah, I think it has, like it's either, like, up for a Michelin star or is on a Michelin list, but not a star. That food, waited an hour for it to get in, but it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That Maha's, I know it's obviously popular, so I'm not putting anybody on, but it's a it's popular for a reason. And Sumac, our dear friend who shall not be
Oh.
named, he had such a wonderful time there. He was documenting the process.
Because I didn't stay with you guys when we left. I was literally driving in the car, like damn near shedding tears as eating my veal wrap. Oh
And
man,
and that was, Keith Lee put that one on.
yeah,
But obviously it was like a major staple before then, yeah?
yeah.
I'm curious. Also, I had a tweet about this, but Andy Talks Ball, just as a final nightcap for this podcast, asks, in your time as a media member, have you noticed any changes in the way Raptors fans act/perceive themselves? I want to ask you first. Have you noticed anything? Because I'm obviously gonna get into my stupid little bag that I love to get
You're-
into.
um, I think I think for me, I'll only speak for myself. Like for me, I think the major difference, obviously, is the media now is my friends. Sorry. So,
Yeah, you met Raptors PR, man. Like at,
yeah,
at Summer League, you know?
this is so like that's a major difference from like 5 years ago from knowing you guys 5 or 6 years ago, I guess now. So that's
Were you
obviously a major
talking
difference.
mad shit about the media?
No, I never was, but like
There has
I
to be a Doug Smith tweet, bro. There
oh yeah,
has
yeah.
to
There's
be a
there
Doug
definitely is,
Smith
there definitely
tweet.
is. There definitely is. Um, but I think for the Raptors, like the whole notion, like I think 2020 is a good inflection point to look at. There's this gumption and this thought process of the team is like in the We the North movement of like nobody cares about us. We've been this good team for years. No one ever is gonna help us. It is us against the world. There's that sort of feeling amongst the team and the fan base, and that also leads to like this level of like disdain and sometimes like attacking level of like presence that Raptors Twitter has. Like, what do you mean OG Anunoby isn't the best defender in the NBA?
Yeah,
You'll get 30 people
yeah,
with OG Anunoby Avies
yeah.
saying
Are you stupid? Are you dumb?
and look at all the amazing things and have all his stats laid out why he should have made over Matisse Thybulle. He should have, but
He is such a scammer, dude. Tyval. Oh,
oh, which is horrible. But I think now that still exists in the same slight, but I think it's more fervor towards like singular players than the entire team. Like there's from what you see online, there's Scotty fans, there's Raptor fans, but there's like a heavier presence on the individuality of like a Scotty, a Brandon Ingram, Jacoby has standom fans,
hmm.
Grady Dick, less so, I would say, than the others. But
Grady, I think a lot of the people who really like him are just Raptors fans. Whereas like some of the other players have it's pretty clear that it's that player they like rather than the team as a whole.
yeah, but like 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, there's like obviously there's DeMar fans, there's Kyle fans, but like generally they're mostly just Raptor fans that are like this big ugly giant in Cleveland. We're gonna go take down this team, and it's not the same anymore.
Yeah. I was gonna so as you point out, like standom and here's the thing, like as far as like evaluating a fan base, I've been inundated with fan base opinions every day Like my mentions are fan base opinions. The live chats are fan base opinions. Comments are fan base opinions. People talk about me and talk to me constantly about this
Yeah.
team. I understand this fan base like extremely well. It has fundamentally changed and shifted a lot since I first started. And like I'll say, standom is a huge part of that because standom fractures fan bases big time.
Yep.
And standom is a phenomena that is growing in popularity and becoming one of the more common ways to interact with something. Whereas in the past, it was one of the least common ways to interact with something was through standom. But people in a polarized society, which we have, uh, a lot of things get funneled to one place, and a lot of people they funnel it towards one player. Like being like 30 tweets deep every day about one guy is that's just news to people. That's just like,
That's
wow. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Standom is a new thing and it's cultivated more for younger fans than it is for like young millennials and up. And that's the big change I've seen is like when I first started, young millennials were obviously the main voice. Young millennials and millennials were the main voice of the Raptors fan base, at least online, right? But a lot of people that I talked to at the arena or whatever, a lot of people who show up in street interviews, young millennial, big time. And it was like this the Raptors fan base was, yes, very defensive of their players, but it's very sentimental, very
Yeah.
like, oh, sweetie baby about players. And that has shifted because they won a championship, which brings in like if you're 14 when they win the championship, that's the team. These guys kick ass. And then the first big player who gets drafted, it's so cool when you're first like a fan of a team and they draft somebody and he's good. That's your guy.
Yeah.
Scotty, all these championship fans come in. S- So many new fans. Team underperforms a bit. All of a sudden, Scotty Barnes is there. He wins Rookie of the Year. That has to be your guy.
Yeah.
With the trend of standom, Scotty gets this huge bubble of like fans who are there for him. Also, there's a bunch of fans who are now here for Brandon Ingram because he's also huge pick for the Lakers. There's a lot of stands for him too. Obviously, we talk about Jacoby, but it definitely like the fan base and who interacts, whether it's like people who see me in person and say hi at the arena, who engage with all this kind of stuff. Big shift towards Gen Z, huge
Yeah.
shift towards Gen Z, and I think some of that is like young millennials aged out, or millennials aged out of wanting to be online, but also the posting style changed to a bit more combative, a bit more
Yeah.
like wild. And if you're like a 36-year-old man and like a 21-year-old is calling you a slur online because you're like, I like this guy better than this guy, you probably tap out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, since we see it on Twitter, it's like we know Elon has been cultivating a certain style on Twitter too. So the cultural shifts that have been happening, Raptors fan base not immune to it. This has been happening in so many other fan bases too. It's just an overall like online
Yeah.
trend. Yeah, that's what's changed. It definitely because when I first came along, it was very like very sentimental, very young millennial, is very like, like well-meaning. Also, when
Yeah.
I started doing this job, like permanently it's on the back of like a huge like social movement and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Now, obviously, as we know, that has evaporated completely and rubber banded the other way. It's just and the reason why I talk about this and why I don't shut up about this stuff is because I'm a public facing person and I'm subjected to it all the time. So I'm I think about this all the time. Other people probably see this stuff, but like
Yeah.
I have a microphone, so hey.
No, it makes sense. Like even how the team markets itself and presents itself caters to this new style and fandom. Like the Raptors were one of
Yes,
the
goat.
best.
Yes, demon. Yes, demon.
The Raptors were one of the best teams for 10 years in the 2010s. And the way the team was presented it was in far more collectivist style, even though they had two guys are going to probably one for sure are
Oh,
going to make
two for sure, man. Two for
yeah,
sure.
just trolling, but are going to make the Hall of Fame. Whereas this team now, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but this is clearly Scotty's team. the team and vision is put within him, and we probably haven't seen this. We never saw this because we were probably too young, but like since Vince Carter, which is probably cool for younger people to experience that because there hasn't been a Raptor that stayed with the team for a longer period of time from getting drafted and becoming a star. And hopefully that is him. But people want to see like a star pop off and have their own LeBron
Yep.
across the league, which is I
And
don't necessarily is the
Pascal
greatest.
gave a taste. He whetted the appetite
He did,
for
yeah,
Scotty Barnes. You know what I mean?
yep,
Because Pascal never reached the place where people clearly wanted. Like the place he reached was unbelievable, and it's still ongoing for where he was. But for what people want, especially new fans, like you step in and you're like, they just won. Why did they win? The guy who got MVP left. Okay, who do I like now? Who do I like now? And then, I mean, Scotty comes along and he's fun. He Twitch streams. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah, there's a huge faction of the online fan base is like Scotty above many other things, and that's
yeah.
like a new phenomena. I think not standom in itself, but I guess like the volume of it. When I first came on, there was like I thought I saw like 3 stands, like 3. And now I think it's the majority of the accounts that I see interacting with things is like, "This is my guy." You know, like even, it was like the Aaron Baines fan club. Remember that?
Oh yeah,
That was like a novel thing. That was
yeah,
like a unique novel thing. It's like, I can't believe. And then DJ Carton was a Raptor for 2 days, and there was a DJ Carton muse, you know? And I
yeah.
like DJ. I know DJs, like, but like this guy had not played any minutes. He was just on the roster, and somebody's like, "I have to be a stan of this guy." There's literally the Raptors logo was NBA paint, right? Who was
Yeah,
at the behest of that? The Sandro Mamukelashvili stan being
he's
like, "You
super
should do
popular.
this." And he
Yeah.
just why? He's like, "I like this guy. He ain't played a minute." You know what I mean? And I don't like the Aaron Baines fan club was that guy came, he followed Aaron around, but the Sandro Mamukelashvili fan was a Raptor fan who just was like, "This is the guy I'll latch on to." It kinda, not to be too
It's
big brain, it kinda leans more into, like, how players are not seen as humans, but more as brands now. You know
yeah,
what I
it's
mean? Like, because 'cause you're constantly cheering for the elevation, like, "Oh, no," like, they constantly cheer for propaganda in favor of, they latch onto with an expectation of upward mobility or at least social yeah, it's like the brands thing.
yeah,
God,
it's
that's
kind
why
of
I
like
love Wembanyama.
yeah, it's kind of like a stock if you think about it, like how well the
People
player
do
does.
discuss me.
Yeah, how well a player does obviously elevates your overall account and like notoriety, and like Mamu's a clear example. Like he's a player that just got signed and has more attention because the Raptors did nothing in the offseason. And so that makes
And there's
more.
a like a meme sardonic aspect to it, yeah. It really is, like, people because we didn't grow up with this, with the social currency of, like,
Yeah,
tweeting online. But I think about, like, all the things I wanted. God, we're old right now, but, like, relative but I think about, like, how important it is to be doing something that's cool when you're young, and, like, if social media is such a big part of your life, which it wasn't huge for us, but imagine, like, what young people now, it's everything. So it's like, if you can get, like, 2.6 thousand followers on Twitter because you're, like, doing a bit, you must be so gassed, dude.
yeah.
Unbelievable. When I had Twitter when I was young, so you just tweet at your friends. You didn't follow, you didn't tweet at anybody you didn't know, I don't think. Did you?
I don't think so. No, and it more so like operated as like a diary than like a network initially.
That
But
is true,
now
yeah.
but now you for some people that's like their easiest point of like connection and hearing other people's ideas or thoughts. Whereas like before you would hear that from like interacting in real life and being around your friends. But this is how you interact with your friends now.
That was the interesting, like, Instagram is so much that way. Like, Instagram is so
Yeah,
just like, it's branding, and Twitter was the one social media that kinda resisted that. I think it's
yeah,
losing some of that. Like, Twitter used to be, it was like, I'm gonna see somebody who's genuinely unwell tweet 6 funny things a day. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like this
yeah,
doesn't reward my social standing or networking or anything whatsoever. This is merely I'm looking at this and this is nonsense. You know what I mean? And And now I think it is definitely like people well, I mean, it's a gold rush. I mean, so many like content creators talk about they're like, this is
Yeah.
a gold rush. Post now. This is a rare opportunity. And you can buy I have $40 sent to me, and I will teach you how to post on Instagram and get 18,000 followers. But yeah, branding. But this is probably what you talk about all damn day, marketing.
Yeah, things have shifted. There's like just in the world, like there's more individuality than there's ever been. So every all content and how you perceive yourself is through that individuality and making sure that your social currency is as high as possible.
Not a fan. I don't think. Not a fan.
Yeah.
Anyway, this I think there will be like an okay amount of people who really liked us going long at this at the end, and I think there'll be quite a few people who are like, ah, all right,
Oh,
and then clicked off. Okay, my I don't know what where the cut was in the podcast, but my mic was messing up, and now here we are. This
I
um yeah. Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
what do I want to say? Um, we need to go to another Blue Jays game before the end of the summer,
Yes,
also.
yes, we do.
And I guess just heading into the season, I think I'm just really excited of like not thinking like the next year's draft is supposed to be incredible, and I have no thought process of this. I
Yep.
haven't thought about the prospects and how they could be good, do how the Raptors need to position themselves. It's all about winning, and that's probably the first time I've had that thought process since like 2021, which is like so long ago. So it's refreshing.
I guess, like, we didn't think about it. For me, it was, like, 2022, 23, because they were supposed to be good,
Yeah.
because they 2021, 22, we were thinking about, like, "Oh, man, I don't know how this is gonna look necessarily." Scotty just got drafted. The Raptors were supposed to not be they had tried to trade Pascal, right, before the
Mhm.
draft, and we weren't really sure how it was gonna go. Pascal makes all NBA. Fred makes an all-star team. They go and play 6 games against the 76ers. But I was expecting to think about the draft a lot that year. And
Yeah.
then the next year I was like, we won't have to think about the draft. And then they lost in the play-in, and that was terrible.
Oh,
And then they drafted Gradey, 13th in the lottery. And then the next year it was like, they're running it back, but I don't think this is going to work. Everyone's going to get traded.
yeah.
Jacoby, they didn't have their pick, obviously, because of getting Yak. Just basketball, man. And, like, when players play bad, you say, like, "This needs to be better." And when they
Yep.
play good, you're like, "This means something." You know what I mean? Like Bruce Brown and like, winning in December, like, "This is fun." Everyone's like, "No. No, you can't do this to me. Stop winning games." Like, "Don't no." Yeah. A little bit more linear in the process. That's a fun place to be, I think,
Yeah.
especially at the outset. If you're on, like, year 4 of, like, we're winning, we're trying to get over the hump, maybe then, but year 1, you're like, "Let's go win some games, fellas."
That's
What a
all I
feeling.
that's all I need.
Yeah. Alright. Blue Jays game coming up. S has been badgering us. I don't know if he's been doing
You
it
could
too. He's
you
been
could you could
badgering.
feel his anxiety.
Yeah,
He will
yes.
send the dates of all available times. He's asked like me 3 times this week, and I've said
Y
yes every time.
You and I do not show anxiety over text message.
No.
I can show, like, annoyance probably or, like, a dismissiveness, but S shows anxiety. He shows anxiety as a texter big time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blue Jays game. I wonder if he'll be an hour and 20 minutes deep into this hearing us discuss that. Oh, by the way, met Spencer today at the climbing gym. Nice to
Whoa.
meet you, Spencer. All right, Trey, thank you for hopping on with me. Listeners, thank you for listening. If you stayed the extra long bit, just make sure to make sure to comment. Let us know what you think about the changing aspect of fandom and people in this day and age, or let us know if you think Jacoby or Grady is better. Why? All that good stuff. Thank you for tuning in. Whether you got into this in the morning or at night, from myself and Trevon, have a blessed day and goodbye.